Today we have a conversation between the Major Archbishop George Cardinal Alanchery, head of the Syro-Malabar for over 4 million people worldwide, and myself, Kathy Skrupskis. I direct the religious education program at Blessed John Paul II Syro-Malabar Mission and Our Lady of Sorrows Parish in Garfield, New Jersey. So welcome to our parish, welcome to the mission, welcome to New Jersey.
Thank you.
I really wanted to sit down with the Cardinal and ask some questions because I grew up in the Latin Rite. I know the Latin Rite. I studied a lot, but I studied mostly the Latin Rite. So I've come to know the Syro-Malabar people in the last 8 years, 9 years. I use the internet a lot, but getting it from the source is the most wonderful experience I could possibly have. So really, basically, I wanted to start with, how do you vision the church in the United States? You're a young church. Here in the United States, not many people are familiar with the Syro-Malabar Rite. So do you feel it's just a movement from Kerala to the United States? Or how do you see the church evolving within the culture of the United States?
It's both, in the sense that ours is an old church. All of the age of Christianity itself, coming from the preaching of St. Thomas the Apostle in India. And this church flourished during the centuries past in India. And due to historical or economic reasons, people from this church emigrated to the United States. And they grew in number in certain big cities and other small towns. And there came a concentration of almost 100,000 people. And so the Universal Church deemed it good that to have a local church of others who are faithful here in India, here in the United States. So we can say that it is a young church here in the United States, but a young church coming from a very ancient church in India. And so this church has to grow here surely, integrated with the church here at large, both the Catholic Church and also in dialogue with the other churches of Orthodox or Protestant affiliations. That is how I visualize it. It is not simply a church in India or of St. Thomas tradition implanted here. It is a church coming from that tradition, getting integrated into the reality of the Christian witness here in this country.
So it's a young child that's moved a little bit away from a parent, but needs to foster the traditions.
That's a good image.
Foster the traditions, foster the culture, foster the devotions specific to your heritage, to the tradition of your church. How would you suggest we ensure that that happens with our young people? My grandparents came 100 years ago, and I see such similarities. Not that they were Latin Rite in Europe, they came here, they experienced the Latin Rite, but I see it in culture. I see it in how I'm second generation born here. I know a lot of our culture, but the next generation behind me, they have a few ideas of the culture. How can we do that? How can we ensure that so much of this continues? What should the church or the community provide for its people?
Yeah. You see, there is a specific difference between what happened with the people who emigrated from European countries, and also the Syro-Malabar faithful who emigrated from India. Because regarding the religious and faith tradition of the Syro-Malabarians, there is a specific difference from the traditions of the people from Europeans. And this specific tradition is that of the St. Thomas Christians who lived the Christian faith during the centuries, and who developed really a liturgy of their own, theology and a spirituality of their own community, and also of church administration, which is specifically different from that of the Latin rite. And you know that in the church, Catholic Church itself, there are two canon laws itself, a system of canon law. One is for the Latin Church and the other for the Oriental Church. And in general, the Suramalar faithful are guided by the canon law of the Oriental churches, and that is taking the traditions of all the Oriental churches. And because of this specific difference, the method of integration for the Latin Church here in the United States, and also for the Orientals and as regards ourselves, the Suramalar Church, happens to be different. But at the same time, as you said, and I would also suggest, any church that is implanted here has to become really integrated into the cultural reality of the United States.
Because the children, the next generation, the following generations, their experience, so much of their day is spent working, at school, at play, with people of different faiths. So you need to instill in them their cultures, their traditions, the devotions of our different rites. I have wonderful memories of my childhood in those rites. I wish that the next generation of my family would appreciate them or understand them. They do it to an extent, but to an extent they're colored by all the other cultures that they see around. So I think it's an important thing to pay attention to the needs of the youth, to do an aggressive, well, maybe not aggressive, but definitely a purposeful, way of addressing them and educating them and making them part, and know why this celebration is taking place, and know what the background is of this celebration, so that then they could go forward. A few years ago, we did a little program, Saints and Seasons, in the Syro-Malabar Rite, and we put together to teach the children about the season, the different seasons, and the feasts of the church, and the different saints of the church, because they're not integrated in our culture. And I think that's a real important way to move forward. As far as the youth go, and being in this American culture, now we're starting to see second-generation children have children. Do you see the church using the vernacular more frequently? Do you see us using the English language more to tailor it to the community, as opposed to asking the community to learn the language of the church?
Yeah, the second-generation children here, I think they are more at ease with the English language, and that is quite natural, because they learn in English in the school, and also their contacts with other people are also mainly their classmates or other people in the schools and colleges are speaking English. So it is really a need for the Syro-Malabar Church to initiate the liturgical and other experiences of the church also in English language. But there is one thing to be remembered, that in a globalized world, one language system may not be the ideal. You see, we have to encounter cultures. And the Syro-Malabar faithful especially should be in contact also with their mother church in India, and also with their own parents in their homes, and for their kith and kin who come from India and so on. I know that the European community here also, they keep their relations with their families in Europe. And they do speak, if they are French people, they speak French. If they are Spanish, they speak Spanish. So, as I said, in the world of today, language is no barrier. Of course, there will be in every country a main language. Here in the United States, it is English and Spanish. Mainly English in the areas our children are there. And together with that, I would like to say that the tradition of the languages in India, you will not say simply only Malayalam. There are other languages also in India. And they should get to know the riches of that language and that culture, and then be always in an interaction with these realities. Then they will go rich also. Even in India, we have many languages. For example, I have to speak more than 3 languages in India. And I try to do that whenever I go, because in India itself, the Sierra Malabar faithful are in more than 6 language areas.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are local churches.
And you need to communicate with them.
Yeah, we have to communicate with them. And our own faithful here also have to communicate with them.
That's one of my biggest regrets. I do not speak another language fluently. I could understand French. I took several years of French in school, 5 years of French, but I do not practice it. So it falls by the wayside. I know Eastern European languages a little bit. I do not speak them. I went for several weeks to Europe. I could understand. I could make myself known. It was wonderful to be able to communicate, because our languages don't always translate directly. Okay?
That's right.
And saying something in an idiom of another language is so much more precise and so much more generous to your hospitality, to your host, than it is to struggle in English or something like that.
So as far as India is concerned, I mean, Indians are more privileged, or in a way attuned to this reality of many languages.
I think most of Europe, a lot of Asia, they are educated people, and they are aware that language is what we need for communication. Language is how we our common bonds, and we need to do it. I think in America for many, many years we were just English only, and I think we've lost because of that. I think it's a lack. So I don't think it's a privilege.
That mentality has to be changed. You see, in a corporate culture, you see how many Americans are studying also Japanese? How many are studying Chinese? How many are studying German?
Sure.
It's like that even in the field of religion or a Christian faith. We should welcome not as many languages as possible, but languages which are needed for a community with whom they have to interact.
I would like to teach the young children, at least, I know a lot of the parents do, the Our Father, the Hail Mary in Malayalam. I would like them to try to teach me. I don't have a very good ear for language, but I would like to learn. I would like to listen to it. My family was not Polish. We were Slovak and Lithuanian, but we went to a Polish church. I know a lot of prayers in Polish. I know the Our Father, so I know what I'm saying, but I don't know that. But it's wonderful. It leads you back to maybe a more mystical level, and it's part of my tradition, a part of my upbringing. I know it. It's important to these children.
I would like to say that, for example, the first generation here maybe desiring to have always liturgical celebrations in Malayalam, but now and then in English. Maybe just the opposite after some time. For the Sierra Malabar second generation, they may like to have celebrations in English, and now and then also in Malayalam.
Yes.
That kind of interaction should go.
And strike a balance.
Strike a balance.
And but let the children learn. You have them here. I think part of the problem is they're not in a neighborhood. They're not in a confined community, a close-knit community. They're scattered a little bit. They come here together. So that's why their experience with a lot of other American traditions are different.
No, I would like to say that our parents of the first generation, and also even the present ones, were not very much equipped, not very much prepared by the church to face this reality and to initiate our children to this two-language system, or to this interchange of cultures. This morning I was speaking to the leaders of the community here in this church about that, and they said, when I explained like that, they said it is a new vision and we have to go after it. And I think the local church here, I mean the diocesan authorities and also the leaders here together will devise a kind of interaction like that.
ഇതെന്നാടാ ഗിരിഗിരി, ആപ്ലിക്കന്റ് ജോലിയുടെ സ്ഥാനത്ത് നീ ഹൗസ് ഹസ്ബൻഡ് എന്ന് എഴുതി വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്?
അത് പിന്നെ ചേട്ടായി, പുള്ളിക്കാരന് ജോലിയില്ല, ലേയപ്പാ. ചേട്ടായി, എനിക്ക് വിശക്കുന്നു, ഇവിടെ കഴിക്കാനൊന്നും ഇല്ലേ?
ഇടീ ചെറുക്കന് വിശക്കുന്നെന്ന് എന്തെങ്കിലും എടുത്തുവേ.
അതിന് ഞാനിവിടൊന്നും ഉണ്ടാക്കിയില്ല.
അതെന്നാ ഒന്നും ഉണ്ടാക്കാതെ?
ഇന്നലെ കുങ്കുമപ്പൂ കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞ് കിടന്നപ്പോ ലേറ്റായി.
എന്റെ റിൻസി, നീ അല്ലാതെ പാതിര വരെയും സീരിയലും കണ്ടോണ്ടിരിക്കുവോ? ഞാൻ എത്ര നാളായി നിന്നോട് പറയുന്നു ആ ബോം TV എടുക്കാൻ. അതാണെങ്കിൽ 48 മണിക്കൂറുള്ള പരിപാടി അവിടെ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്ത് കിടക്കും. നിനക്ക് സമയമുള്ളപ്പോഴൊക്കെ എടുത്ത് കാണാൻ മേലെ.
ശരിയാ റിൻസി ചേച്ചി, കുങ്കുമപ്പൂവൊക്കെ എനിക്ക് എപ്പം വേണമെങ്കിലും കാണാം. പരസ്യമൊക്കെ ഞാൻ ഓടിച്ചു വിട്ടാ കാണുന്നത്. ബാത്റൂമിൽ പോകാനത്തെ ഞാൻ പോസ് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ചിട്ടാ പോകുന്നത്.
ഇവള് പറയുന്നൊന്നും കേൾക്കണ. നീ ഒരു കാര്യം ചെയ്താ ആ ബോം TV ഒന്ന് വിളിക്കും. ഇപ്പൊ തന്നെ കണക്ഷൻ എടുത്തേക്കാം.
I said something earlier to Father this morning, and I love this quote from Proverbs: without a vision, the people perish. Unless you have a plan, unless you have a goal, unless you have a purpose, you fall down. You have nobody to blame but yourself. So I think that's good. I think this takes us to the next area I wanted to talk to you about. You're the master catechist. You're the master teacher. What do you, and I think you've touched on this a little bit already, but what should we be providing for adults in their lifelong learning? What should we be providing for them in terms of them being able to continue their faith journey? Should the parish have Bible study? Should it have adult education, adult formation? What should we provide for adults first, and then we'll talk about children?
Whether it is for adults or for children, what we have to give in Christian faith is Christ. Christianity is Christ.
That's the answer. You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Faith. And how do we give Christ? That's the question. To give Christ, we should understand who Christ is. Christ is a message. Christ is a gift. As message, we should give Christ to adults, to people of any age. And as gift, because he is a gift given by God the Father to humanity. And this gift is really making people live in the church and in the society. Knowingly or unknowingly, everybody lives in this world by Jesus Christ. By God's life given through Jesus Christ. And this is what we have to give. And if we know that what we have to give, then the method will naturally come to us. What is the method? You see, there is an initial proclamation. That means we share our Christ experience initially with everybody. By the behavior or by the words or deeds or whatever you do, you are giving Christ, or you should be able to give Christ. And for that, we should have really an encounter with Christ in our faith life. Only those who have this encounter, those who have met Christ in some way or other in their own lives, will surely give Christ to others. And then this message aspect is there. There will be coming also that gift aspect also. As God Himself gave Jesus Christ for us to have our divine experience, we give ourselves to others. That is service.
Right.
So you see,
Right.
message and service, which Jesus did, we are doing the same. And that is really that we have to give to the adults in this present world. And to give this gift of Christ to the adults, they have to have this encounter of Christ in their faith life. In their faith life in the church, in the liturgical experience, or especially the celebration.
Especially in the liturgy, in the worship, yes.
The worship, and then their prayers, their church administration, their experience of the communion of the church, their dialogue, their conferences, their workplace experiences, in everything. So that it is a totality of life that encounters Christ and gives Christ to others. That is Christian life. Jesus did it all through his life.
Right, right. He taught by his life, his example.
Yeah. So, catechesis means giving Christ. And that also in a very deep way, not simply in the peripheral experience. We give Christ totally. We really explore the inner reality or the message of Christ. Inner reality, what is it every day? But how does it affect me? Jesus Christ himself did not give what is God's love in one day. He was explaining it to the disciples in a more deeper way, and to the others in parables and so on. So it was a lifelong process for him to proclaim the love of Christ. You see, it's the same thing for us. So it is a lifelong mission that Jesus has entrusted to us, either for the adults or for the children. So, and then giving Christ. That you see, Mother Teresa or any of the modern saints. What did they do? John Paul II. He gave himself. Our church is named after Pope John Paul II.
Right.
Very good. You see, he's a pope who gave himself for the world, like Jesus Christ. That is our mission. And when you do that, and when you take people into that experience of sharing the message and sharing the life, there is catechesis. And this catechesis, therefore, is not simply teaching the children certain lessons of faith and then leaving them all alone.
We are forming disciples. We are forming them in their faith.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's important for us to incorporate the liturgy, and the liturgy as catechesis, and the worship, our devotionals as catechesis, and just to experience that, because there's not enough book knowledge that would ever make us understand what we could find from the experience of the Eucharist and experience of the Mass.
Book knowledge is only one of the contents of the faith life.
Oh, this is so good to hear you say that, because I agree completely with that.
Yeah,
That's
because when I was director of catechesis or chairman of the commission of the bishops, and also now as head of the church, I'm insisting on this. And in the church in India, in the Surah Malabar church especially, we are practicing it, and people are becoming more and more happy about the new system. So even in evaluating the catechesis in a parish or in a diocese, we should have an what we call a overwhelming way. I mean, touching all the spheres of human life, and then as practiced in one particular church as the basis of catechesis.
Okay. Specifically to talk about the program we offer for children, okay? The educational system that they're part of 5 days a week is the American educational system, which has become very intense and very animated, and it's computer and graphics and all kinds of things together. So the textbooks we've been using here, we go through a whole series, and there's a listing that's approved by the U.S. Bishops' Conference, and the one we use is published by the Jesuits, Loyola Press in Chicago. I think it's a wonderful series because it focuses on prayer and their prayer life. But there's, just a regular information throughout, and on their grade level, and we go forward. I have two problems. One problem is it just relates to Latin Rite. and I'd love to get something that's a supplement or some additional information that we could use to teach on their grade level about the Mass, to teach on their grade level about their history. Is there a plan to do something for the children outside of India in that respect?
Surely, you are hinting at a great need of the church. You are right in saying that there should be an additional help for the catechists or for those who are directors of catechesis to have this kind of helping material. I would like to say that the Sunday school catechesis which we do shall not be simply a repetition of the educational system of the regular schools.
Right.
Why? Because regular schools aim at giving information and technical know-how. That is for their life and for their development in the world. Of course, something of it is needed in catechetical training also. But much more than that, it is a sharing of life witness that we do in catechesis. Sharing of life witness, both by word and by practice. And in that sense, when you do the Sierra Malabar catechesis, of course, in India, we developed a basic catechetical series, and we gave the freedom to the local churches, that means the dioceses, to have their own workbooks. Workbooks. Workbooks means for each book, the local church has to develop what we call a book in which we provide the material which you would like to have. And also for the children to share the Christian faith in their own way, how to respond to it and so on. So it will go like a question answer or question response or a presentation response, like that. Actually, an interaction is going on with the catechist and also with the children, like that. The catechism class or any kind of catechetical exercise will be a communitarian exercise. Then only it becomes catechetical. That means the church is a communion.
Right, it's the whole faith catechesis together.
So the catechist,
that's wonderful.
The children and every reality of the parish will be in interaction in the class. And they learn how to live in the church and also how to live in the world.
But this goes back to our early years in the church, and yet I see it as extremely progressive. You know what I mean? It's the way the early church began, and that was the faith, that was the purest form.
So the question which you have put, I will present to the local church here, to the bishop himself, and they have to develop what we call a workbook or a
guidelines, some sort of
material, etc. Regarding the liturgy, regarding the church life, regarding the devotions, regarding pilgrimages, all those things, and regarding the connection they should have with the mother church.
There's so much on the internet. There's too much on the internet. There's so much available there. There's things. There's a process now in several colleges in the United States, Catholic colleges, that's called long-distance learning. So there's a group, the Boston College, those Jesuits. I went to Jesuit school. I went to Catholic school for 27 years. I went with my original degree and my master's degrees and all. But Boston College does have a program that's a long-distance learning, so you can go on and take courses to enrich your background in certain things. There's another, it's called Catholic Distance Learning. Maybe we could even organize something like that, so what people can go ahead and do it. Because the internet's the answer. For my generation, I spent so much time in the library when I was in college, I did research in different languages that I had to transcribe myself, from French, from Latin.
You see, long distance learning through internet.
Yes.
That will help the person to form himself.
Yes.
But that is not fully the catechetical training. That is what I said. So in the Mother Church of the Malabar, there in Kerala, we have Bible correspondence courses, Bible quizzes, and also what we call the interaction between different groups of children selected from the local dioceses and coming to another place and then interacting.
Wow.
So there is a multiplicity of sharing of Christian experience there in the. Here I would like to say that they have initiated this catechetical system here in the Church of the Sura Malabarians here only just 1 or 2 years ago. And so they are only just...
right, we're just forming. We're just forming.
So I think in 5 or 6 years' time, you will also develop a system of giving catechetical training in a very dynamic way.
I think too, catechists needs academic knowledge, but they need methodological, I guess, gearing it towards the age group they're working with, but they need a spiritual component too. We need to assist the catechist in their spiritual life, bring them forward, show them what's available, show them some material. Perhaps we need to offer just a retreat for that group, because their needs are a little different than the general population.
I discussed this matter with the bishop here. You see, the Sierra Malabar Church here is extended all over the United States.
Yes.
We do have parishes or communities in certain areas more close, like northeast here, in Chicago area, in San Francisco, in Florida and Tampa and so on, like that. No? So region-wise, I think they should have some kind of training or some kind of experience,
program for them.
Sharing for the catechists. It has to come, and they may do it in the coming years. That's what I hope.
The most valuable parts of any catechetical training I went to was learning ideas and bringing them back to share them. What's practical here for me to go and use? There was even one workshop I went to, a bishop gave it on icons, because he draws icons, and it was fabulous, But 3 other workshops that day, they weren't that great. But you do learn from every experience.
No, surely.
Yeah.
And this is also a continuous learning process also for the catechists and also for the students. And I think here in this Ramalavar situation in the United States, even for each parish can think of experimenting methods.
Sure. Even just Bible study, even just one chapter of the Bible, one book of the Bible at a time. I've told them I have a degree in theology, and what I learned going to school, in the School of Theology with the seminarians, is there's so much I don't know. That's what I learned. There's so much I don't know. I'll say, I know all this. I go, oh, that's very good, because I can't imagine how you could know this at this early age. These people in their 20s and 30s, they have a good sense of self, but we need to continually develop our faith. Continually.
Absolutely right, yeah. That's what we have to do.
Yeah. I want to just kind of change into another aspect as we kind of finish our conversation. 2 things. One, I think you touched on a little bit about the whole community, that we're supposed to, our mission is to spread the gospel message. We're to go out and spread the gospel. What do you see in terms of the community? A lot of times in the Latin Rite, when we have children who are teenagers, we try to get them involved in community service. Now it's become a big thing in the public education system to have students do so many hours of public service, to go to visit people in a shelter environment, to help the homeless, to collect things, to do some sort of an outreach. Do you see that as a mission of the church itself?
Absolutely, because Jesus came to love, with the message of love, and also he loved humanity, even giving himself fully to others. So this sharing of our own life with the life of others, especially for the poor or the people who are in a way a little away from the mainstream of the society, who are suffering.
People who are in need in one way or another,
The suffering, the sick, and also those who are estranged, prisoners. Such kind of life sharing is
so all those works of mercy, we need to work on that. And finally, this year in October we start the Year of Faith Pope Benedict has declared this as a year of faith and spoke of evangelization as being the focus of the year. But I believe it's also evangelization as an outreach and evangelization internally. Okay? Is there any specific direction that the Syro-Malabar Church is going to give people in terms of that? Is there any specific plan to do something or provide a program or encourage people throughout the community to explore their faith in any way?
No, surely. Because this year of faith, the Holy Father announced, of course, on the occasion of the 50th anniversary
the council.
of the World the Council. You see, this council wanted to have a continuous dialogue with the world, in the sense that Christ is to be given to the world in all the circumstances we live. And in this year of faith is addressing to the present circumstances of the world and to give witness to our faith according to the needs of the times. And the Syro-Malabar Church also is going in tune with the Universal Church in this aspect. Of course, and this has to be realized by each local church in its own way. What we do in India may not be fully applicable here for the church in Chicago or in the United States. And this also has to be done in a mutual sharing with the Latin Church and also the Oriental churches in general and the Syro-Malabar Church. I hope they will think about it. The observance of the year of faith does not consist in doing some certain things more as programs. No, not at all. Because it is a kind of what we call finding out new way of being the church, a new way of presenting ourselves as disciples of Christ. And for that we have to think more deeply, and we have to pray together. We have to have our liturgical celebrations really giving us an experience of encounter with Christ, and also other ways of living together with the people of no faith or people of other faiths in the best way possible. That kind of observances are more needed. Rather than simply
that's a great vision. That's a very great vision. Okay.
And it is a hard work, much more harder than the observances which we do sometimes, announcing 1 year.
A year of St. Paul, that was a little easier to work with, and get the children involved in that. But you're right. But it's time. It's time for people to sit back and look in on their faith and realize that they need to develop it, constantly evolving as this disciple, as we work towards our goals. Well, thank you so much, Cardinal. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I've wonderful afternoon.